Hello my fellow gamer, it's Griffin here and welcome to another POE2 video. Today I wanted to share with you my Sorceress Stormweaver progression with a cast on Minion Death build that triggers comets to drop from the sky every time one of our minions dies. It is extremely fun to play, very powerful, and I cannot wait to share it with you. And now let's dive in. Playstyle. I have tested a lot of different setups, from 4 cast on Minion Death active gems to just 2 with support gems plus Archmage. The playstyle is engaging, fun, satisfying, powerful and effective. But how does the build work? We cast Fireball that as soon as it connects will spread additional fireballs in a circle that will spawn Raging Spirits at their location. As soon as the Raging Spirits die, and we have 11 of them, we'll charge the energy for the cast on Minion Death gems displayed in the top left corner. As soon as the energy reaches 100%, all spells connected to those gems will trigger, in this case comets, a lot of them. We can even have 5 comets spells assigned to the same cast on Minion Death gem as long as we have enough mana to sustain it. It is very important to mention that if we keep spamming Fireball and the Raging Spirits despawn and don't die, more about that in the item section, they will not charge the cast on Minion Death gems and no spells will be triggered. Items. Fireflower Amulet is the heart of the build. This is the only item that is mandatory for the build to work. The only stat on the amulet that is important for the build is take 141 fire damage every time you ignite an enemy. This item is corrupted, but for a non-corrupted item the value will be 100. The higher this value is, the better. The reason this is important is that on the skill tree we'll take the Necromantic Talisman node, allowing all bonuses from the equipped amulet to be applied to our minions instead of us. Therefore, every time a Raging Spirit ignites an enemy, our minions will take 141 fire damage. We'll keep the level of the gem low, so the Raging Spirits will have a very small amount of life and will die quickly. Sometimes Raging Spirits spawned by the Fireball are not in the close proximity of the enemy, so we'll add Infernal Legion that will make Raging Spirits take damage while moving towards the monsters. This setup will allow the cast on minion gems to be charged very quickly and trigger the comet spells assigned to them. It is important to have enough mana and mana regen to sustain these very costly spells. Progression and gear. There are 3 different setups I used so far. Until we reached level 41 to have access to Comet Gem, I used these items and they are very cheap on trade if you don't have them already. They'll give us plenty of spirit from the beginning, and in combination with a focus that gives us 12% increased spell damage per 10 spirit would represent a significant boost in damage and will allow us to crush the content until Act 3. Although the body armor gives us 100 spirit, we want to replace it with better chest piece before we gain access to the Comet spell at level 41, because, as mentioned in its description, the intelligence stat doesn't provide a bonus to mana, and by using it we'll lose a significant amount of it. In the early stages we can use Spark, Flame Wall, Frost Bomb, Ice Nova and Raging Spirits until we'll gain access to Fireball and Frost Wall at level 31 that we can already use in a cast on Minion Death setup as we gain access to that Spirit Gem at level 26. After that the gameplay becomes even more engaging and we do even more damage. Because we don't have access to Firewall Amulet at this level, we need to rely on the Infernal Legion, Minion Instability and Feeding Frenzy support gems for our Raging Spirits to die and trigger the Comet spells. At level 52 we can equip the Fireflower Amulet, and at this stage we can allocate the Necromantic Talisman node on the skill tree. This is the moment where the build comes online and moving forward starts to destroy content. Towards the end of the campaign, I switched to the second setup when I used the wand with +3 to level of spells and the scepter in the offhand that gives plenty of spirit. This proved to be a more powerful combo than the setup mentioned earlier, as long as we'll add Archmage to the mix. Now our character is level 80 and I'm doing tier 9 and tier 10 maps comfortably because I'm using the third setup. I purchased a new wand with +5 to all cold skills and also cold damage and mana, but doesn't have crit chance, which starts to feel necessary to progress towards red maps. I will post another update about how the build will progress in red maps with crit damage setup, and this is the rest of the gear so far. Now let's talk about the build's weakness and ways to mitigate damage taken. The character is not tanky. We want to make sure that the resistances are capped because our character is exposed to damage. We don't have a shield in this setup to be able to block incoming damage, no armor or evasion. We want to make sure we have as much energy shield as we can, as we are using Grim Feast that through Grim Remnants can double our character's energy shield. We'll take Chaos Inoculation node on the passive skill tree during the early mapping to be immune to chaos damage, but the life of our character will have a value of 1. So energy shield, capped resistances and chaos immunity are the ways for our character to mitigate damage passively. The active ways to avoid damage would be minimum 25 movement speed, using frost walls to block monsters' path and keep a safe distance when possible, also chills and freezes we generate through our cold spells. A very important note, although this item is amazing, don't use it in a Chaos Inoculation setup considering the life value is 1 because of the line mentioned in its description. X% of damage bypasses energy shield. This means that even if our character has 4k plus energy shield but life value of 1, a monster that will hit with at least 5 damage will kill our character in one shot because 20% of that damage bypasses energy shield, reducing the life value from 1 to 0. Avoid this item or any other items that have similar line like X% damage bypasses energy shield in a Chaos Inoculation setup. Gems. This is a flexible setup and we can change different support gems or spells, but the setup I'm currently using is Fireball with Arcane Tempo, Scattershot, Unleash, Acceleration, and for the 5th support gem in the future we'll use most likely Mobility. Raging Spirits, ideally level 4 to give Raging Spirits a small amount of life. I'm using a scepter that besides giving a large amount of spirit, also has +4 to all minion skills that raises the level of Raging Spirits, therefore their life. But the scepter also raises the level of cast on minion death gems because they have a minion tag, and the higher the level of the gem, the more energy it gains. It is a trade-off, no doubt, and even at level 8, Raging Spirits die very quickly due to our Amulet and Infernal Legion, Minion Instability, and Feeding Frenzy support gems. First cast on Minion Death gem has Comet, Spell Echo, Spell Cascade, Inspiration, and for the 5th support in the future most likely will be another Comet spell. Second cast on Minion Death has Comet, Elemental Focus, Concentrated Effect, Biting Frost, and for the 5th support will most likely be Cold Mastery. Archmage has Lightning Mastery. Grim Feast with Clarity. Hypothermia Curse has Heightened Curse, Hex Bloom, and Focused Curse. Frost Bomb has Stripped Away, Cold Penetration, and Glaciation. Frost Wall has Magnified Effect and Glacier. Passive Skill Tree. We prioritize damage, spell damage, cold damage, crit chance and crit damage. Mana and mana regen are very important as it will allow our character to keep casting and support the very high cost of the triggered comet spells. Also maximum energy shield recovery rate and fast start of energy shield recharge are extremely important as well as it keeps our character alive. At level 52, when we'll equip the Fireflower Amulet, we'll allocate the Necromantic Talisman node. Also Touch the Arcane and Adverse Growth are very important nodes for much needed mana sustain. In early mapping, we go for Invocated Efficiency and Energize. When we are comfortable to make the change, we can select the Chaos Inoculation node. It is not mandatory, as a life and energy shield setup is also viable, but in this case we'll need to find gear with good amount of life, mana, chaos resistance and elemental resistances as well. The thin ice and heavy frost nodes are amazing, as they will significantly increase the damage taken by monsters, considering we lower their resistances way below zero through cold exposure and cold penetration by using Frost Bomb and Hypothermia Curse. Towards the end game, we should start taking crit chance and crit damage nodes that will prove very useful, especially in boss fights. Ascendency. This character started as a sorceress, and we've selected the Stormweaver Ascendency. After trying different Ascendancy nodes, like the Shock nodes for example, we've decided to go for the Arcane nodes, Constant Gale and Force of Will for a much needed mana regen and cast speed. The third Ascendancy node most likely will be the Heart of the Storm, and then Scouring Winds for even more damage. Conclusion. It is a very powerful build that feels amazing to play, very fun and engaging, probably my favorite build so far, has massive potential especially with a lot of investment into crit, more mana and more defenses. We can go for the Ingenuity belt and better rings, also another scepter with even more spirit, maybe a Sacred Flame, also another body armor with even more energy shield and spirit. With proper investment, this build can be fine-tuned and can decimate even the highest content. It is still a work in progress and we are just about to start red maps, but so far has been a blast, very enjoyable playstyle and I highly recommend it. And this concludes our look at Cast on Minion Death Stormweaver build. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe, as we will cover PoE 2 extensively on this channel. If you have any questions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. All the best. Bye.